little caffeine will help you not fall asleep after that lunch. Anyway, I want to give you an announcement. A little bit of bad news, but we've got it covered, and that is that John Adey, who was our next presenter, called in sick a couple of days ago and was not able to be here. We're sorry about that, but he did tape his presentation for us. And so, Lee, after I give the bio notes, there he is up there, John Adey, American Boat and Yacht Council. I'm going to give him his, because he's not here and you're not able to meet him, I'm going to go ahead and read out his notes. Grew up running small power boats in New Jersey's lakes and sailing with his grandparents on Long Island. Ran his own marine supply store with his wife before joining the American Boat and Yacht Council in 2002 and elected president of the ABYC in April of 2012 and has had that role since. Lee, Savage, play tape. There we go.
Hi, my name is John Adey. I'm from the American Boat and Yacht Council, and I'm so sorry that I can't be with you guys. Not feeling so great right now, so opted to not take the flight down to Fort Lauderdale. Hope you're having a great meeting. Paul, thank you so much for having me. I am here to talk about the future of boating and where we think we're going from an American Boat and Yacht Council perspective, and hope you guys get a little bit out of this. Maybe some of these things you've seen before, maybe some of these things you haven't. So from my office here in Annapolis, let's start talking about what keeps me up at night. First of all, let's talk about what ABYC is. We're the American Boat and Yacht Council. What you're seeing in front of you is a bunch of guys who got together in 1954, titans of the boating industry, if you will, and that was taken at the New York Boat Show. And they got together with the primary goal to stop regulation and to regulate themselves as an industry instead of having government regulations that we know are difficult to change and may not always hit all the marks. So how are we doing so far? I think we're doing pretty well. Here we are. Fast forwarded a little bit, almost 70 years, and we have very minimal regulations from the federal government. And it's really good to be that way, and it feels great to work with a company that does that and a number of other things for the product that you're all selling. So we've had a couple logos over the last several years, but that one on the left is the one that you've seen probably for years. Then setting standards for safer boating, and finally boating safety built in, because that's really what we are. Everything we do is about safety. You'll see that in our mission and our vision statement, and we're all about making product as safe as possible to keep boating America's recreation of choice and keep it one of the safest recreations on the planet, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit soon. So we also certify technicians. So we have about 5,000 certifications out on the street. We certify them in 8 different disciplines. And our technicians are trained to the standards. There's a statistic out there that'll tell you about 90% of the product sold in the United States in the last several years was built to the ABYC standards. So why not certify a technician to repair to the ABYC standards? So the ABYC certified technician, those techs can be found at findaboattech.com, and we're very excited to have so many certifications out on the street helping us keep boating safer, and that's really what it's all about. So kind of in concert with that is a new program we have by the ABYC Foundation called the Marine Trades Accreditation Program, or MTAP. We have a drop-in curriculum for schools. It's called the Marine Trades Curriculum. And that curriculum includes a lot of basic information for students who want to be involved in the marine industry. And our goal is to get you, the people who need the technicians, to visit your local school, talk to them about ABYC, and then finally award them this MTAP accreditation, which basically says that any students that are coming out of this particular school have the skills needed to be hired by an employer and actually do the work that's needed to be done. They have a working understanding of boats and boat systems, and they can get out and truly make a difference in our industry and make boating safer. So you might see that coming up soon. We do have some facilities in Florida. Broward Community College is one big one. Suncoast over on the West Coast is another one, but the Marine Trades Accreditation Program is something that's starting to grow, and we're looking forward to expanding that and getting more quality technicians out into the boating industry to service what you're selling. So what are we going to talk about today? So I have 3 big things that are really on ours and the Coast Guard's punch list for boating safety over the next few years. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a strategic plan, but it's pretty close to one. The first thing is going to be autonomy. Can boats drive themselves? Next, obviously, electrification is at the end-all, be-all solution to boating in the future. And then finally, lithium batteries and I guess, budding 48 volts discussion. And we'll get into all three of those. And I wish I was there for some Q&A, but I'm sure Paul can relay any questions you have for me, as the weeks go on. So let's talk a little bit about why we're dealing with this. So the Coast Guard every year puts out accident statistics. So what you're seeing is a graph from their statistics. uscgboating.org is the website that they use for that. And looking at the accidents from 2021, which are the latest ones that are published, we're looking at around 680 accidents dealing with operator inattention. Operator inexperience is next. So there's things like mandatory licensing out there that the Coast Guard's talking about. Improper lookout, so nobody's paying attention to the jetty or whatever else is happening. Excessive speed, alcohol use, nav rules, and then sharp turns and restricted vision. So you can see where we're getting our information from and what we're trying to attack, and we're trying to get those accidents down and get those contributing factors down. So a lot of this that we're dealing with actually attacks those accident types. So let's take a look at what we're looking at for our first discussion, which is autonomous vessels.
Aha, that's it, perfect. Raise them up, see if you want to go faster. Brilliant.
When our captain has activated the function, the boat is moving.
So why are you working to automate this process? And does it seem, it doesn't actually seem like the boat's docking any faster.
No, it's not about making the process quicker or the docking quicker. It's more to take out the stress. And I think all of you that are boaters or have been on board on a boat know how difficult it is really, especially when you come into the moment of entering a harbor or such. And I mean, by doing this in this way, automatically, it takes out all the stress and you can feel relaxed.
So other than the soothing music that I wanted you to see here is the fact that, most major companies are getting involved in automation. They're getting involved in autonomous driving. Now, this is completely different than an autopilot like you're looking at right now. Autopilot is set it and forget it, has no AI involved, no intelligence involved. But I think one of the coolest things is the fact that boats are a major display as of 2022 in the Consumer Electronics Show. So really, really big change for our industry. Obviously, Brunswick leading that one. And what you saw in that last part of that video is really what's going on with the future of autonomous docking. Now, the Volvo product that you saw kind of in the middle there, that actually had some sensors, a number of things that were set up for that boat to be able to get into that berth. And that was a number of years ago that one happened. But also the one you saw originally, the twin outboard or the triple outboard Boston Whaler, that was actually just recently debuted this fall during a media event down at Lake X. So it's happening. It's here, and it's a lot more than autopilot. It's quite sophisticated, and it's coming to a boat near you. The joke is lawyers can now drive boats. I'm sure there's some lawyers in the room, so chuckle or hate me for it, but I'm not here for you to throw fruit at. So let's move on a little bit. Now let's talk about electric and whether it's the holy grail or a unicorn. There's been a lot of discussion on electric product, electrification as the industry is calling it now, and can it handle everything? I think prior to just launching this discussion, you really need to look at the industry and look at what the industry is doing right now. So you have a major ski boat manufacturer who invested a lot of money into a electric ski boat, which seems like a great product for electrification. But also they've purchased an inboard engine company as well. So you kind of look at that and you say, yeah, they even know that maybe electric isn't the end all be all for everything that's out there. So I think as we look at electrification, I think there is a part of the industry that will really lend itself to that. And there's a lot of studies going on right now where they're talking about that. So if you take a look at our document E30, we walk through all of the requirements in ABYC for an electric boat. It's a full standard for electrification, and again, trying to preempt the Coast Guard from being able to regulate something like this. Our standard exists, and it is there, and manufacturers are using it. So in that standard, we talk about things like how are you going to control this? What are you going to allow a joystick to do? I mean, let's talk about autonomy for a minute to blend in with electric. Are you going to let someone push a button and go swimming? Are you going to let someone push a button and take a dinghy into dinner? Likewise with electronic controls, what are you going to allow it to do? Are you going to allow it to hold? Are you going to allow it to pulse? What are you going to allow it to do? And how is it going to act? And we have standards for that as well, which are important. But again, that question about is electric the holy grail? There's a study out there right now that is in a draft format, and it'll be released, I would say, in the next 3 to 6 months, that talks about 9 craft categories that you can see here. And in those craft categories, it talks about whether electric is a viable option for that use, the life of it. This is a quick chart here that talks about the viability of different fuels and the volumetric energy density, looking at whether it's a drop-in fuel. So you had typically a gasoline or a diesel vessel that you could drop in a fuel, don't do a lot of modifications to the engine itself. Or do we want to work with gaseous fuels like hydrogen, or do we want to go with batteries? But this is what the industry is looking at right now. And this I'll give you a quick glimpse of. This is really those 9 boat categories and taking a look at the different types of fuel that's available and whether those are viable for the craft's use, for where the craft is stored and things like that. So there's lots of studies going on out there. No matter what you see in the news, there's a lot of undercurrent saying, all right, maybe electric isn't the solution for everything. Is it going to replace that 6 V10 outboard 50-foot center console? I don't think so. I just don't see that. So, there is a place for everything that's out there. Surely we want electric to come in so that we're in the trend, so that we're doing what we need to do to make it look like that, or actually to say that we're adopting all the new technology that's out there, both from an environmental perspective, also a customer use perspective, because if they have their electric car, they're going to want their electric boat. So moving on a little bit to add-ons with electric. I'm going to call this what's old is new, so bear with me a second. So if you are a James Bond fan, you know exactly where that came from. That's Thunderball. That was a large foiling yacht that was filmed in the mid 1960s. And here we are with brand new product that's talking about foiling. So when you start getting electric product into larger boats, you need to find a way to reduce the surface tension of the water on the boat because typically it takes a lot to push a boat through the water. So many companies are coming into the foiling work out there, and so this is one company that joined ABYC recently and is working on foiling solutions. There's some smaller boats that are working on foiling solutions, some John boats and what have you. But this is something that has been around forever. And now it's coming back into the recreational boat market, and we're starting to see things like that. I mean, when you think about diesel electric, they were on World War I submarines, right? So a lot of the old technology is coming back, and it's making a comeback, and it's actually being a little bit more practical for some of the new propulsions that we're looking at here. So take a look at that. I'm sure you guys have seen foiling technology out there on different product, and I think it's interesting to watch. Do we have a standard on it? No, but we've been asked to make one, and we'll try to figure out how we need to get involved in foiling as we move on. But right now, I think we're kind of up to our eyeballs with the autonomous vessels and some of the other things that we're working on right now. So electrification, it's here, it's got its place, it's not going anywhere. And ABYC is well ahead of the standards curve, and I think we're doing about as much as we can right now to make sure that that remains a safe and a viable product. So here's another kind of package deal that's going on out there. You can see the price on the screen. This is by a company called Pure, and this is an outboard system that was developed. It comes with the batteries and everything. It's ready to go, put on the back of a dinghy or put on the back of another small boat. But there's going to be many, many options out there. I mean, a lot of the companies. Obviously, my presentation is not an endorsement of any of these. These are just ones that have more information on their websites, so you can actually get a good idea of what's out there. There's Torpedo. There's a number of other companies that are making electric style outboards that are not trolling motors. I mean, it's above pounds of thrust. We're talking, some in the 75, 90 horsepower range. So it's there, it's out there, and it's ready to go. So the thing that concerns a lot of people is the infrastructure. ABYC is the standards writer that's being looked to create the standard where we have a universal plug. So that no matter what charging station you pull up to, you're able to plug in and charge your boat. The question is, where are these charging stations available? Do we have a lot of on-water options for charging? Right now, it's a lot of home-based. So the ski boat that I mentioned before is a perfect blend. You pull into your boat lift slip, you lift your boat up, and you go ahead and plug it in. I've been joking that they ought to invent one like the old slot cars we played with when we were kids, where you have the two wipers on the bottom of the boat, and when you put it on the boat lift, it automatically charges. But there's ways for this to be done, but the infrastructure right now really does not support pure electrification of product. We hope it will in the future. As we know, we just saw Ford and Tesla decided to get together and create the use of Tesla's high-speed chargers on Ford product as well. So we think we'll see more of that, and we definitely follow automotive when it comes to technology and some of the other things that we do. So I think all of that infrastructure discussion is only going to help electric product to get a little more prevalent in the industry, and the possibility of making it a more practical choice for some people that think it's going to work. Pontoon boats are really good for electric. It's short trips, can go home and be charged. Like I said, the ski boats, your 50-foot offshore sport fish, probably not, at least at this point. We don't know where that's going to go, but at this point, probably not. So let's take a look at the next target here. So lithium batteries. There's a lot of discussion on lithium batteries. We've been doing our own testing. Please don't tell my insurance agent, but what you're going to see is a video of what was happening in our backyard here in Annapolis as we were trying to catch lithium batteries on fire. We were asked to do our best to try to make these batteries explode and behave badly. And we threw everything we possibly could at these batteries. We froze them. We overheated them. We overcharged them. We deep drew them. We charged them with the wrong chargers. We did, like I said, a lot of damage to these batteries. And finally, the video that you're looking at right now, was the only time we were able to get one to even smoke, and that was because we took a 10-penny nail and drove it right through the cells. There's been talk of taking them over to my father-in-law's farm and shooting them with a shotgun to see what happened, but again, not real world scenarios. So I just don't see us doing something like that. But I do want to leave you with lithium and with the fact that we find it to actually, dare I say, be as safe or safer than lead acid batteries if you pay attention to the following things. So the first of all, we use lithium iron phosphate. Let me say it again. In the marine industry, we use lithium iron phosphate. You see the LIFE PO4 over there. That is the lithium chemistry of choice for our industry, and that is the one that we tested. Most of what you see on the news with hoverboards or e-cigarettes or even the airplane accidents that have happened where they blame lithium are not that chemistry. There's a number of different chemistries out there. It's like chili. I mean, there's so many different methods of making lithium batteries. But right now, the lithium iron phosphate is in most of the drop-in solutions that you see out there. And there's a couple things that make it even safer, but this is the chemistry that we used when we did our testing. The next thing, you have to have a manufacturer that incorporates a battery management system. If you go online and you want to order we actually ordered these batteries from Walmart.com, believe it or not. They were reconditioned floor scrubber batteries. They guaranteed a certain amount of amp hours. And we were able to order them directly online, and we had a choice whether we wanted a BMS, a battery management system, or not. You don't ever want to use a lithium battery without a battery management system. It regulates the charging temperature. It regulates whether it should shut a cell off. It regulates whether it's too cold or it's too hot. And it makes sure that the battery never goes into what we call thermal runaway, which is basically a fire you can't put out. So the battery management system is critical. And if that's with the lithium iron phosphate, your battery gets even safer. The other thing is a reputable company. These, we're not really sure where the company came from. It's just batteries that we were able to order. They actually came in a cardboard box that was supposed to be the battery case. So using a reputable company is another great way to make sure that the lithium product that goes in is safe. If I was with you in person today, I would ask you to raise your hands about how many have heard stories about lithium product not being insured in our industry. It's a discussion we've been having lately, but any insurer that calls me, I walk them through the tests that we've done and let them know that I really haven't seen any accidents with lithium iron phosphate installed properly and purchased from a reputable company that have caused major boat fires or have been the cause of major boat fires. And again, from where I sit, we hear a lot. So I would expect if there were some major issues like that, we would hear some. And we just haven't to this date, and that's really why we wanted to start doing this testing. We submitted this grant to the Coast Guard, or the final part of this grant to the Coast Guard, a couple months ago, and we expect that they'll give us permission to release that at some point to talk about the safety and what we did to try to actually cause lithium to behave badly, I guess is the best way to say it at this point. So the other thing too is this is always a system approach. It's not just a component approach. So you have batteries here that have the ability to stay charged longer, to deliver massive amount of amperage. So you can't just expect that you're going to drop a group 31 or an 8D or whatever into the same space, lithium versus lead acid or any other technology, AGM, that you've been using. So this is a system approach. Possibly wires have to be upgraded. Fusing needs to be upgraded. Chargers have to be programmed correctly or purchased new to be able to handle this. So if anyone says they're just going to upgrade to lithium by paying $8,000 and getting 6 batteries that fit in the same compartment they have now, and they're pulling out some lead acid, not a wise choice. One, you're not going to do the batteries any kind of service. You're going to spend that much money on those batteries. You're not going to charge them properly. You're not going to get the amount of time out of them that you want to get. You're not going to get your investment back. So it's a system approach. So let's just take a look at those kind of pillars of lithium right now. Lithium iron phosphate, always a battery management system. It's never a choice. Even with a smart charger that knows how to charge lithium, you need the battery management system. Buy them from a reputable company, somebody that's selling into our industry right now and has a good reputable company backing them. And also it's a system approach. It's not a component approach where you used to be able to just go and buy batteries and drop them in if you're going to choose to go with lithium in order to get your investment back first, or to keep the boat safe. That's probably first. you need to make sure that the boat is capable of handling lithium and that you're going to get the enjoyment out of it and the advantages out of lithium that you need, because there are a lot of advantages. There's no doubt about that. Lithium's here right now, and it's going to be here for the foreseeable future. We do have a document on lithium ion batteries. E13 is its title. Brian likes to remind me, Brian Goodwin, that's our tech director, that it has only 146 topics, everything from battery management systems to a number of other things that manufacturers need to pay attention to in order to use batteries. I think it's also a good time to mention right now the fact that lithium may not be the final technology that we settle on. Looking at different types of technology, and I think cobalt is something that a lot of people are talking about. When you have companies and visionaries that are out there working on as much energy storage as possible in the smallest footprint possible, in the cheapest footprint possible, there is no doubt that there's going to be another technology, but that lithium is here, and it's going to continue for a while, so we need to write a standard on it to make sure it's done safely. But there are technologies out there that companies are looking at, and there's a lot of different discussion on that. So keep an eye on that. You see it in publications like the Wall Street Journal. You don't have to look just to boating to find out what's going on with battery technology. So interesting discussions, and you can really geek out over this if you choose to. But suffice to say, ABYC is again. I don't want to say ahead of the curve on this, because I think we published this document at exactly the right time. But E13 is available with only 146 topics. So let's move on a little bit to my next discussion, which is 48 volts. So I got another little video for you. Let's go ahead and check this out again. It's a shameless promotion by the Navico Group. Again, shameless promotion for the Navico Group. I apologize for that, but what I wanted to show you with this is generator replacement is here, both in the RV side and the marine side. And in order to do that, you need a robust system behind it. Right now, this is not something that you can call up your local distributor and say, hey, I want generator replacement. It's just not that simple. The amount of thought and the amount of digital switching and the amount of engineering that's gone into that Fathom system, as they call it, is pretty intense. And one of the things they discovered while they were working on that is the need for 48 volts. 48 volts can be charged faster. It's a little bit more robust. You can have a smaller cable size. A number of advantages come out of 48 volts. And this is something that just kind of popped up. This was not something that was really talked about prior to launching these different technologies to replace generators and be able to run air conditioning without having a smelly generator running and being able to be on the hook for a while. So if you saw those outboards that are there, those outboards have 48 volt alternators. And now almost everybody is starting to make 48 volt equipment for, not just for the Fathom system, but also for things like bow thrusters and some other topics. So we're looking at charging 48 volts. We're looking at using 48 volts. Fortunately, our E11 electrical standard goes up to 60 volts, which is kind of the nominal charging for 48 volts. If you think about charging a 12-volt battery, you're at 14.6 sometimes. So 48 volts is well covered under E11, but it's a new thing out there. I don't think we're going to see 48 volt nav lights. on things like that coming up anytime soon. But I do see large equipment like the windlass that you're, or like the bow thruster you're seeing here, and the windlasses. I think you're going to start seeing those in 48 volts. But that Fathom system is something to keep an eye on, and also other companies coming out and creating that generator replacement technology where you can run AC appliances through an inverter with a robust battery bank that is charged by some really big fast charging alternators. So it's out there and it's happening, and that's another great display at the Consumer Electronics Show back in 2022. So it kind of tells you where our industry is going. All of the conveniences of home, very quiet, and it's really interesting. And all this is capable or can happen because of lithium batteries and advanced charging and advanced alternators and a number of other things. So really neat to talk about. I'm sure you guys have seen some of that, but it's out there and it's happening. So, but 48 volts, something to look out for, absolutely. So, how about the boater? We have a proposal here. She's excited. And he's wet. So there's not much we can do to save the boater from themselves. Actually, we did write a standard on what you saw that happened there. There is now a neutral holding lock on all shift and throttle, not just ones that were single side mounted. But ABYC also has some EDU standards. So these are educational standards that are used by different companies that are teaching people how to use boats. There's a lot of information in those. Those are available for free on our website. So if you know a school that's training people how to use boats, this is a great place to go to our website, abycinc.org, download these EDU standards, and there's a whole load of information there on sailboat, powerboat, paddle sports, and actually using those products and what activities on those products will make you proficient when it comes to using a boat. They talk about pulling up to a buoy and being able to stop, performing turns, docking, a number of other things. So if you know a school that's teaching people how to boat, or if your customers are looking for something, those EDU standards are a terrific place to start. So with that, I do want to invite you to the U.S. Coast Guard Risk Mitigation Series. This is a live online event, happens each May and November. We talk about all of the things that we just talked about in this presentation, and we bring in different experts to talk about what's going on with it. We had a great one on lithium. We had another really good one on Coast Guard recalls. We had another really good one on U.S. Coast Guard factory visits. So the boats that are being built get visited by the Coast Guard. But the risk mitigation series is there. Again, if you go to abycinc.org, you can sign up for the newsletter that will allow you to take a look at those. Those are free, and it's absolutely something I would expect you would get some information out of, and some safety things that you can pass on to your customers as you sell product. So moving on with that, I was going to ask if there's any questions, but what I want to do is just take the last 45 seconds and thank you for allowing me to do this virtually. I didn't want to have to cancel today, but again, I apologize for not being there. I am sure Paul will be able to find a way to get your questions to me if there's anything to ask. And if there's a ton of questions, maybe we can just do a quick webinar for you. You can dial in and we can just talk back and forth about ABYC and lithium and autonomous craft and all the things that ABYC is working on. I hope you guys are having a great selling season. Thank you for your attention. And my 30 minutes is up. So have a great day, and hope your conference is going well.